Hello and welcome to another episode of ARC Live. Live to you here from the World Economic Forum in Davos. We are on the promenade, in the heart of it. If you hear some background noise, it's because we're in the middle of a protest, anything can happen. It is live. But no, amazing. Thank you for being here. We have been. This is now day 4 of Davos, and we've been on the hunt, having loads of interesting conversations with governments. And we've actually been really lucky to bring a small delegation from the art community with us. And we're going to have a quick chat with a few of the people that are here this week and understand what they're up to and why they are actually here. So first, Caitlin, welcome to the show, I guess.
Thank you, James.
Who are you and why are you here?
My name is Caitlin. I represent Longevity Escape Velocity Foundation. We are trying to end aging. We don't think that it is biological necessity. It is amenable to medical intervention, and so we're trying to do something about it. And we're here in Davos, of course, looking for ideally money, but also just proselytizing and making sure that the people who are making decisions understand that this is something that matters, and it's a very real thing that people are actually working on.
Okay. And so what do you actually do at WEF?
So yes, we primarily conduct our own research. So we have actually the largest in vivo studies that we know of to date. So studies in mice looking at intervention testing, and on top of that, they are combining different combinations. So it's far too complicated for academia, not sexy enough for industry. And we kind of fill that niche and try to do the work that nobody's incentive structure right now currently supports, but is really important to get done. So we are testing multiple things at the same time in animals, trying to see what exactly is the threshold that we need to hit as far as how much repair, or how much damage is being repaired before we see the effect sizes that we're looking for.
Okay. And what do you actually do there?
So Aubrey de Grey, who many people have heard of, but if you're outside of the longevity space, perhaps not. But he is our founder, and he's one of the pioneers in this industry, considered one of the forefathers of longevity biotech, I guess. And we are a small team. It is about 5 of us in total, but on the science side, it is Aubrey and I. So we kind of conceive of the studies together, and then it's really my job to make sure that they can happen, and that logistically that it is possible, that it is reasonable, because sometimes things are just not reasonable at scale, that it is cost efficient, and that it's something that ultimately has meaningful insight for translating things to human therapeutics. So I have to make it happen.
That's such a cool day. Aubrey and some of the rest of your team have been very involved with ARC since inception.
Oh, sure.
We actually have a podcast coming out this week with Aubrey de Grey, so if you're unsure about who he is and the work that he does, you can listen to that. I guess in short, he is sort of seen as one of the the founders, I guess, of this sort of longevity movement.
Yeah.
Basically, the way I would put it is that sort of looking at the human as saying these are problems that we can solve.
Right.
Right. He's sort of not an amateur mathematician, right? He solves some mathematical problems that absolutely nobody else has solved, but he looks at it from a
chromatic color of the plane.
Yes, yeah, which on the podcast we talk about as well, if you really want to know about it, right?
Yeah.
But so there's both Aubrey, who's incredible, we talk about him, but there's also David Wood, who we put out a podcast with last week, who sold Symbian to Nokia 20 years ago in the first wave of technology companies, and now spends his time on more philanthropic actions and helping you guys as well.
He is a technologist, he's a futurist through and through. He heads London Futurists, is very active in the AI space, and also very active in the longevity space, and does a lot for us in that regard.
No, amazing. So I want to dive in a bit more again. So LEVEF, you said, the Longevity Escape Velocity Foundation.
That's right.
Right, what does that even mean?
So longevity escape velocity, if we are thinking about lifespan on a curve, there comes a point where if we are repairing the damage to our bodies faster than it's accumulating, that we essentially will stop aging and potentially even start aging in reverse. So part of our paradigm, part of Aubrey's paradigm, is a damage repair approach. So it allows us to use kind of engineering principles to sidestep ignorance instead of making all kinds of assumptions about mechanism and what's at play. And so the beauty of this approach with damage repair is that you can iterate on it. So essentially every round of therapeutics that are successful buys you more time to develop new therapeutics. And so escape velocity is the point at which you have this kind of stasis. You're repairing things as fast as they're breaking.
Yes.
And then, aging has functionally ceased.
Yeah, and so is it basically you're extending life faster than you're living it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And therefore you do
Very
not
well
die.
Put.
So basically you just have to you have to live. If you can survive until the point of longevity escape velocity,
Yep.
then you theoretically have lived long enough that you do not have to die.
That is correct.
And I'd say that...
As theory puts it, yeah.
As your theory puts it.
There is nothing in our known laws of physics that says we must degenerate and die. We are very complex biological systems, but in the end, we are a combination of physics and chemistry. And so like anything else in this world, yes, it degrades, and you have entropy and all kinds of other processes at play. It degrades, but there's nothing to say that we can't fix it. It is amenable to repair. So
no,
that's
it's
what we're
very
trying to
interesting, right? And I guess I got to meet Aubrey and Caitlin at the same time 2 years ago in Battaglia and kind of like Prospera, and it was just after I sold the previous company, and I guess I was looking at things a bit more broadly, and I'd never really looked into longevity properly, and yeah, it's just sort of fairly insane how little attention and capital is put into the underlying cause of every single other issue that kills us sort of like downstream. Do you want to explain what that statement means a bit?
Well, this is what Aubrey has spent the vast majority of the last 20 years trying to convince people of, and it's been surprisingly difficult to help people understand that basically everything that is making us sick, all of the diseases that we eventually get, they're caused by the same underlying, handful of damage types. Like, these are things that we understand. And so aside from inborn genetic diseases, virtually all illnesses are a consequence of the aging process. It's like you could define it as this phenomenon of functional decline. And so different systems obviously age at different rates, but you think about when is your peak cardiovascular performance? When is your peak kidney function, liver function, whatever? It's really sometime in your 20s for most systems, and it just slowly degrades from there. And we name something a disease after that dysfunction has hit a certain threshold. It's become bad enough that we can notice it, but it's degrading all the time nonetheless. And so it's that underlying process that we're trying to correct.
And the point is that you do think that it can be corrected, and this can be solved.
Absolutely.
And we don't need to age.
We don't need to age.
Yeah, it's great, right? Because the point is, it's not just about extending lifespan. We're talking about you basically being eternally youthful. Let's just be really clear on what we're promising here, right? Eternal youth.
That's certainly the hope. And we get a lot of flack in the space because there are two parties. There are the immortalists, and then now there are the health span people who don't want to talk about indefinite lifespans or longevity escape velocity at all. They only want to talk about extending healthy human years, which is all well and good. You're not going to have longer, let alone indefinite lives without fixing health span. But I don't know, I think it's not as scary a thought as people put it out to be, because you're really just talking about iterative improvement. More than iterative, it's going to be exponential at the pace of advances, but it's not that scary at all.
I kind of wish we could do double-sided camera for this talk. You know,
Yeah.
it's like we've
Everything
got some
happening in the
yeah, like just like there's so much stuff happening.
Hello,
you know.
robot.
We are on the promenade. We're lucky to be here with this gorgeous kind of like fire here, getting sort of like an après ski kind of like shindig here. But there is so much interesting stuff that's happening kind of in front of us. We just had some like robotic delivery vehicle kind of like go past, and yeah, it's kind of all happening. I mean, I guess like final question maybe on LVF then. So okay, it's a problem, it's solvable. For some reason you guys seem to be maybe not quite the only, but like one of very few reputable organizations in the world that are doing anything on this and trying to direct attention and really make people understand that this is a solvable problem, and that if you put the right funding towards this, like actually, no one has to die.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I would say it's grown considerably, even like in the last 10 years or so that I've been in the space. There's a lot more people who are being vocal about this, but our work really comes down again to the areas that there's no current incentive structure. So there are definitely people who are trying to tackle hallmarks of aging or individual components in pharma, but that's because pharma is a one drug, one target model. So you're not going to get an approval, like first of all, any combination therapy. If you're using something that somebody else has already patented, then that's, good luck with that. And then try to find an indication that is going to be accepted by the FDA. Like, you're just not going to get that work done in pharma. And in academia, you're only rewarded for some new discovery, getting your paper in Nature, whatnot. And so somebody has to be doing this kind of work. Now, it's also like the nature of our experiments are pretty damn insane. Like, it's really, really complicated. I don't blame other people for not endeavoring to do this. Fortunately, like you mentioned, like Aubrey is really good at maths. So actually breaking down and teasing apart the results from these is not as complicated. But it's frustrating still that there isn't more pouring into the field. We have a handful of these monoliths like Altos, Google's Calico, Retro Biosciences, which has gotten a lot from Sam Altman. And they're all focused really on like a singular approach, and it's still like it's a good thing. We want them to be doing this work.
Arseny.
Hi.
We're live.
We're
live at the minute. So like, Arseny, put your head in.
Come say hi.
Quick. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Nice to see you. Nice to see you.
Hi,
You got to wave. You got to wave.
Wave to the camera.
So it's fine. Good. Thank you. So let's just ask. It's just another member of ARC and a great VC. Sway, I will introduce you straight after this.
Yeah.
We've got a little. You can't see it, but there's a mini audience, kind of like here. That is part of the beauty of Davos. Actually, it's like, you're on this single street and everything is just happening in and around here, and like, you don't need to come knowing anyone else is going to be there. You're going to bump into people.
They'll
it's
be
super
here.
Kind of cool. No, we interrupted you, but do you like have a QR code that you can like show so people can like wire you money?
That would be a really good
like
idea. You can
solve death.
You can definitely wire us money. LAVF.org is our website, and there's a donate page. Our website is under construction, so hopefully it will still be up at this time. But
they can reach out, right? Caitlin at LAVF.org.
Caitlin at lavf.org, and you can put it on the screen or something so they spell my name right.
Yeah, fine. And just to give us like again, like you are best in class. You've had some pretty big backers that have helped you with the work so far.
Absolutely.
Do you mention some of the people that have?
Yeah. So I mean, we are entirely philanthropically funded, at least to date. Although the climate for that is very challenging right now, so we're expanding to different grant applications and other things. But historically, we've had significant backing from Vitalik, not as LAVF directly, but basically Aubrey directly has gotten significant backing from Vitalik. And who else have our significant backers that you may know better than I do?
Is Teal funded this or previous?
So Teal also funded Sense Foundation, which is Aubrey's previous foundation. That's actually where I started in the field, coincidentally. And so yeah, it was with Teal and
Who knows? But what's kind of crazy about this, right, is that we're at this
I don't
point
do the
now.
money.
It's a really, I basically think we're gonna, I might be a little bit bullish, but I think we're gonna crack it in the next 10 years. It's on my list of stuff. I think we're like,
we're very close.
talking about math, right? We've got the latest AI models, which are basically creating breakthroughs almost every day now in mathematical problems that humans have not been able to solve.
Yeah.
And
the challenge is the way that most people are deploying those tools, even like these monoliths that I speak of, that have all the resources in the world, are taking aim still from a very, very narrow lens.
Yeah.
And so our hope is that the Altos is out there and Google Calico and Retro, that they would expand their focus and utilize these tools for really like looking at the scope of the problem rather than just a singular solution that's going to be the easiest to market.
Not sure, but I still think it's under-indexed, and I think that we're going to be able to solve this in the next 10 years, and I think the organizations like yours are going to spearhead that. And so I do think if you are a donor that wants to make a difference, I think it's like a real sort of like inflection point where like you may be able to go down in history just because of the timing and everything as well. Like, I think this is it. This is something that like can help every single human in the world and every single human that doesn't, isn't here just yet. So, I mean, maybe just before we switch to our next sort of like guest, how have you found Davos this year? It's not your first rodeo.
It's not my first rodeo. No, I was here last year. It's so many interesting people. Like when I showed up last year, not having any idea what to expect, and there are all these people in finance and geopolitics and bigger things than my little world. Even though our problem that we're trying to solve is arguably more important, if I don't say so myself. But I expected to have really nothing interesting to talk about with hardly anyone, and all I got in both last year and this year was like, oh, you work in longevity, tell me more. Now I heard something about that, I know something's happening in the space, tell me more. And so that's really encouraging, and of course why I'm here proselytizing, so that people understand that this is indeed happening. And yeah, it's a great environment. It'll be interesting to see if we want a longevity house next year. See if we can make that happen, get on the promenade, get people coming through. But yeah, it's great.
Just more friends. It's all good. No, look, Kaylin, pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, James.
Thank you very much. And please, next guest. Whilst there's a whole guest change going, someone ping Rhett as well, and then just double check that we're still going.
And my hair is covering us.
Everything is still going. Like, we're still live. Like, we're still live. Nothing stops. The show must go on. I'm going to do a thank you to Indonesia House for the lovely scarf that I'm wearing. We were very fortunate to be invited to actually what is one of the most sort of like, probably one of like the biggest kind of like nicest and coolest kind of like parties that happens in the evening. A lot of the countries that have kind of like houses along the promenade here they host like amazing like shindigs, and so we got to see all this sort of like Indonesian food, all this like Indonesian culture and shows and singers, and even a couple of the cabinet ministers like played like the drums and the keyboard and sang yesterday. So thank you also for the scarf and for the hospitality. Now my next guest, Swayam, how are you doing?
Better.
Guys, can we get you out of our sun just whilst you're moving around? God, too many people watching, Sway. So again, as of this week, you were anointed by some of the ARC delegation, Sway, and I've just kept calling you that. Are we okay with Sway for this interview?
It's okay.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Let's go with Sway.
Sway, so tell me, what do you do and why are you here?
Yeah, it was first time experience to be here. Always has been curious about how Davos work. And never has been a better opportunity to be here. And
what are you up to? Why did you come? What are you building, I guess?
Yeah, so we are building a AI training infrastructure, a decentralized AI training infrastructure, where you can train your own local models, and then when we orchestrate the training trustlessly globally.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting, and at least to a lot of the stuff that I've been to here at Davos, this has been pretty topical. AI is like one of the top things on everyone's mind. I mean, we're here. Thank you to our unofficial sponsor, C3 AI. We're here, in using their space and facilities. Thank you for hosting us. But it's on everyone's lips. Everyone's talking about it. Yeah, what are the problems? What are people discussing? Like, yeah, what's the background, I guess, in Davos from an AI perspective?
Yeah, I think the one core thing that everyone is talking about or is concerned about is data privacy, on where the data is, and on the other way where businesses are actually working and using AI are in the need for good high quality data. And in most of the high value sectors, especially life science, healthcare, this is very critical. And this is where I am seeing this over and over again, that they need access to some high quality,
Yep.
diverse data, and they have no way to do it.
Yep.
And the current infrastructure with all the big techs and the models we have, it's completely different than what is required to build that infrastructure. And that's exactly what we have been working on.
Okay, exactly. So just talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so what essentially happens is, like, if let's say Stanford is working on a cancer research model, they are probably the best in the world who can do this research, but the research and the model is only as good as the data they have.
Yep.
And probably they can, let's say, extend to few of the other universities in US and expand their data set, which works today as well. But as soon as there is a need for data diversity, because your own inference does not work outside your own demographics, the model in itself becomes useless. And for every big tech or even Stanford-like institution requires an access to data which is not available.
Yep.
To make their own research better.
Yes.
And this is like, that's where, let's say, how Stanford could collaborate with, let's say, a hospital in Nigeria.
Yes.
Without trusting them.
Yeah.
And if they have a relevant database, and if they can have the capability to train their own small model, can they become the part of the network? Yeah. So that's what we are building.
Yeah, because if you look at kind of like the macro from the AI labs perspectives, right, there is a global race between the labs to build the most competent models.
Yeah.
And the way that they're doing that is basically by just like throwing fucking data and compute to train new versions, and they're just taking a hit. Now, the challenge is, all of the available data, we are like running out of the data.
Yeah.
So instead, they're now basically supplementing that with synthetic data.
Yeah.
But actually, there's a much, much bigger category of data which does exist in the world, which is privately held data, but it's held by typically enterprises at the largest size, right? But obviously it's also held by us as individuals.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we do not want to share that data, or maybe actually we legally cannot share that data, right?
Yeah.
But actually, if you can unlock a mechanism that allows, we got, it's Davos. But if you can provide a mechanism which unlocks that data, this is extremely valuable.
Yeah.
This is a gold mine for the labs, right?
Yeah, and it's not just for the labs. It's like the amount of things that you can enable on that top of stack. So imagine GPT-like models enabling all different agents and the entire economy on top of it. It's the same thing. Like, if you get access to, let's say, all the data in the world for life science and the genomes, like, what can you build with it? And that's where the real capture is.
Yeah, it's kind of like super interesting, right? Yeah. And I guess, again, like you've already explained, right, but Sora is allowing these sort of like disparate, siloed, private data kind of sources to actually be contributed to improving the way it's improving the actual models without revealing that sort of like private kind of like data.
Fundamentally, the data stays where it is. The training happens locally. Only the weights and gradients are shared to the global model, and that orchestration is trustless. So node A does not have to trust node B, and other way around, and it could be thousands of nodes.
And so the analogy is, normally you have to take the data to the model or to the weights, right, to improve them. But actually, instead you
bring model to the
data and then update the weights and then send it back, and then you somehow bring this and combine this together, right? Which is sort of like, fairly insane. So that's like the biggest scale as well. But like, what's interesting about what you're doing too, right, is then at the individual consumer sort of like level, right? Like, the model would be so much better if it knew everything about us, or if we were giving all of the data up to it, right? But we don't really want to give up all of our private data. So how does it get involved with this?
Yeah, I think it really comes back to the problem of context, the local context for AI. So a very simple question that if we ask like what should we do today in Davos, the GPT would not be able to answer because it does not really know that I'm with you and the people around
Yep.
and where I'm
Yep.
going.
Yep.
So it really does not know, or it's not purposeful.
Yep.
And that's where we really like that kind of personalization.
Yep.
Like there are models which are enabling access to the information
Yes.
locally, but that is just a retrieval and not intelligent. It's not smart enough
Yep.
to be predictive. And what we are going for with the small models is to be predictive. Like the goal is to be predictive. It might not be predictive from day one, but eventually it should be predictive.
No, okay. It's very interesting. So again, you're at a bit of a point of momentum right now, right? There's been a lot of like work, like actually building out the infrastructure that enables this.
Yeah.
You've got over that hill, and I know you've been winning competitions, you've been getting recognized. Like it feels like you're right on a cusp. You want to talk a little bit more about, I guess, like the momentum and like and where things are right now?
Yeah, it has been super good last few months. One of the standouts was being invited by NVIDIA to be at one of their flagship event.
Yeah, so you were like on stage with like it was insane.
Swift.
With Swift and
Lily.
and Lily, right,
Yeah.
and then Sway with Sora, right? This is epic, right?
Yeah.
But it's really serious stuff because what you're doing is important. It's solving basically $1 trillion problems, right? So it's okay. So you're at this point, but now you're basically now. It's in that sort of, again, you're piloting a whole bunch of kind of like early kind of like plays and getting ready for kind of like actual big deal rollout stuff.
Yeah, true. So currently we're just focused on getting our 3 pilots live and just focusing on getting those right. Yeah.
No, okay, it's very interesting. Yeah. But well, so again, like, how have you found your first Davos?
Very interesting. And
was it like versus like what you expected? Like, what were you? Tell me.
Not the usual conference that I have been to. Yeah, like, let's see, who does this?
Yeah, that's so true.
It still works here.
Yeah. There's probably like a generation watching this that have never seen a business card, right? You know, and you come here and it's like a lot of OGs, right? It's
Yeah, so it's different. It's very different, but what I really liked is the diversity and the amount of exposure that you get from all different corners of the world. Yeah, it has been great. A lot of learning experience.
Yeah. No. It's very good. Well, where does anyone watching this come to find out more and to get in contact? Maybe to run a pilot or maybe work out how they can build the even better versions of the current models with some sort of like proprietary technology which helps you do that at a cheaper or better.
I think the best place to find us is on X. Just go to SoraChain _AI and you can just send us a DM there.
That's the best way. That's the best way.
Yeah.
Okay, again, that's very that shows the difference, right, between business cards and go to X and send us a DM, right? No, it's good. Well, look, Sway, pleasure. Thank you so much for being on here. Thank you so much. It's really good. I look forward to seeing your progress as we continue. Well, for now, we're going to call it kind of like there. Just looking at my team. We might do what is called a quick switch. Yeah, thank you for now.